After 1 week, Roman entered the territory of Viscount Conrad. After passing this area, Dmitri was next, so the soldiers were all longing to head back to their homes. As they approached the border between the two places, they caught a strange sight. "Oh my! All the crops for the year are ruined! These bastards! If this happens, how are we supposed to live?" A bunch of people who looked like farmers were sitting on the ground and weeping. Just by looking at them, it was easy to understand the situation. The vast land, which seemed to be for cultivating crops, looked devastated, and the farmers were weeping as if the sky had fallen on them. Roman looked away. He wasn't sure what horrible things had happened to them, but there was no reason for Roman to solve everyone's difficulties. Right next to him, Chris explained. "Looks like they are Dimitri's farmers. I heard that some people who aren't in the mines had rented the land on Conrad's side to farm. As Conrad is a far place, it must have been difficult to manage, but it looks like something had gone wrong for them." Halt. Roman stopped walking. If they were the people of Dmitri, then it was a different story. Just like the case with the Castro family, Roman took Dmitri into his boundary, and it meant their work had to be resolved. Roman said, "Chris, bring them before me. I need to hear what happened to them." "I understand." Chris bowed his head and commanded the farmers to come to Roman. It was, as Chris said. They were the farmers of Dmitri, and they complained of injustice to Roman. "As you know, not much land in Dmitri is available to farm. So there are many who rent the land on the border of Dmitri and Conrad, and we signed a contract with the Conrad family, and we promised to rent this land for 10 years. Now, in a month's time, the crop is supposed to be harvested, but a few days ago, the Conrad family sent us the most nonsensical notice. The Conrad family apparently has work to do on this land, so we were asked to clear land within a week. Does this make sense? No matter how poor we are, we did make a contract to rent this land for 10 years at a reasonable cost. With 5 years more left on the contract, they are kicking us out of our rented land without a discussion. Young master, it is quite sad. Look at this, we didn't move out so the Conrad family sent their men to ravage the land. We have no way to live now. We have been working so hard for this crop to be harvested, now, what do we do when the crop will not even come?" The farmers cried at the frustrating situation for them. Chris said, "Lord, the situation of the farmers is unique, but that doesn't mean we can do anything. The land leased by the farmers belonged to the Conrad family. Even if we prevented them from taking the land into possession, it would only lead to problems between the two noble families. The Conrad family is forming their own group of nobles in the Northeast. They are not a simple target for us." The Northeast Alliance. They were a group that united in the face of danger, so there was no reason to touch such groups. They were like bats. When Barco was in power, they stuck to them, and when Barco fell, they appeared at Dimitri's banquet. So he said, "Chris, if we ignore a problem because it is not simple, then no one can solve it. And bystanders only increase the intensity of the problem. Before I increase my influence, I need to get rid of the root of the problems around me." Chris was shocked at Roman's words and understood the meaning behind them. Chris took a step back and bowed his head. "I obey the command of my lord." If Roman made the decision, then it was his duty to follow it. They finally arrived in Dmitri. The gates were wide open to welcome the return of Roman, and the men cheered for them. "Roman! Roman! Hero of Cairo! Pride of Dmitri!" It was a mess. These people heard the rumors too. The fact that Roman played an active role in the Southern Front and was called Cairo's hero. Roman moved through the crowd. It was a familiar scene to be welcomed by people, and wherever he looked, people cheered for him. At the entrance of the inner city, Baron Romero ran to hug him. "Son! You have been through so much. How have you been?" "All is fine. What can be special about this place? We have prepared a grand party for you. Consider this the last day of your life and eat and drink while having the most fun." Baron Romero walked ahead, but Roman didn't follow him. He spoke with a face that didn't like the cheers of the people. "Father, can you spare some time for me?" In the office of the Lord, the deafening cheers were no longer heard, and Roman explained what happened at Conrad's, to which Baron Romero replied with a firm face. "I did hear about something like that, but son, there are a few sensitive issues in the world that shouldn't be touched. No matter the fact that a contract was signed, there is no way to prevent Conrad from reclaiming the land that is rightfully theirs. Will the farmers of Dimitri be able to farm properly on the land of Conrad? Rather, it would be better to create a peaceful solution by giving them new jobs." Just like Chris said, Baron Romero didn't want this issue to grow any further. Even if it seriously harmed the people of Dimitri, this was a matter that happened on the border of both states. And Roman said, "I do understand what Father is talking about. But there is one thing I want to ask. If it wasn't Dimitri, but the people of Marquis Benedict, do you think the Conrad family would be able to take back the land given to the farmers?" At that, his expression went stiff. This was a sensitive issue. It was meaningless to give this as an example, but still, the Baron couldn't understand what Roman's intentions were for bringing this up. "Marquis Benedict is a living power, so no one will think of touching him or his people. Then what do you think of Dimitri's position in the Northeast? Just half a year ago, we didn't hold a solid position either. But as we overthrew the Barco family, we are now the strongest in the Northeast. I will not deny that. Although Dimitri is said to be the strongest in the Northeast, we never know what dangers await us if we attack a neighboring estate and blindly trust our newfound power. This isn't a matter of pride. There is no need to create a fight between Dimitri and other troops by raising a problem that we do not have to touch. No. There is no need for that," he said firmly. Despite the Baron's words, Roman didn't step back. "We defeated Barco. At that time, the Northeast was an area that seemed to follow the words of Barco and was protected by the central government. But what about now? Although it is said that Barco held the power of the central government, the Conrad family and other nobles are showing that Dimitri doesn't hold the true power. People say that Dimitri isn't as good as Barco, so there is no need to worry too much. Even touching the people of Dimitri doesn't seem to be a problem for them. After all, Dimitri is just a family in the Northeast, and they think we have a limit to our tasks and actions as we do not receive protection from those who hold power. Father, the people of the Conrad family touched the people of Dimitri. It wasn't a problem between the estates, but the Conrad people had directly gone to do it, and they made the decision without another thought that touching the people of Dimitri was all right. What does this mean? That we have a limit? People say that Dimitri is the best in the Northeast, but isn't the reality much farther from that?" He looked straight into Baron Romero's eyes and continued with a firm voice. "Now is the time to organize the power flow in the Northeast. Who is above, and who is below? We will have to show it clearly through this incident." Sparks flew off. Roman revealed his new ambition. The scene shifts to the evening. Baron Romero was sitting in his office drinking wine. He was still thinking about the conversation with Roman. Roman said, "We have the powers as well as justification to aid our denizens. Why are we just watching while we let the Conrad family trample on our people? Please let me wield my sword. As long as you give the order, I will be the one to dirty my hands with blood." Roman said this with absolute confidence. The conversation didn't have a clear conclusion. They ended the conversation, and Baron Romero was left alone with his thoughts. "My son has grown a lot." Roman's last words left a lasting impression on him. Not because he claimed he'd hold the sword, but because he didn't want his own people to be touched. Dimitri's people put their trust in Roman, and he repaid their faith with great leadership today. Perhaps the people might be right. Born as a commoner, he was unable to handle the power of Dimitri, but his son Roman was different. He was raised differently than a typical commoner, unlike me. People claim that Roman is half noble, but the Roman of today may have been born as a result of the hardships he endured later in life. Roman understands people's difficulties and tries to solve them. What Dimitri lacked was not strength or power but the determination of their lord. Then it may be necessary for me to appoint a successor. A new era has opened for the Dmitri territory. A few days later, a party was held by the Dmitri family. The purpose of the celebration was Roman's return, and of course, all the nobles from the northeast had gathered in Dmitri. From the Volt family. I am Sophia from the Grizel family. On behalf of the hero's family, I want to congratulate Roman Dmitri. Many nobles began arriving early in the day. Although the northern nobles did not accept the Dmitri family as true nobles, they did not deny their power. Dmitri was clearly the best in the northeast. However, the eldest son of such a family returned as the hero of Cairo, and they couldn't ignore it. The huge party hall was filled with people. They appeared to be having a good time at the party, but when they had the opportunity to speak with Roman, they took advantage of it. Do you remember me? Lady Sophia of the Grizel family. Of course, I remember. Didn't we have a conversation at the party at Barco last time? Ah. You remember? Sophia smiled despite Roman not saying much. She thought, certainly not the former Roman Dmitri. It would be great if I could make him my man. How do I make him like me? The halo around Roman Dmitri overwhelmed the people, and all the nobles around wanted to impress him, especially the women of noble families. Roman Dmitri, the hero of Cairo, was the center of attention at the party, and many guests wanted to claim him as their own. A man approached Roman as the night of the celebration progressed further. I am Viscount Conrad. It is truly an honor to meet the hero of Cairo who defeated Hector. Roman thought. So then, this is Viscount Conrad. And replied with a smirk. I am Roman Dmitri. Viscount Conrad smiled kindly and asked for a shake. It was clear he was familiar with Roman. In their conversation, he was somehow trying to make Roman like him. I heard that you defeated the 5-star swordsman, Butler, in the battle with Hector. Seriously, I cannot believe you achieved such a thing in your mid-20s. There was a time when I dreamed of being a swordsman. Of course, I couldn't get a feel for mana as I wasn't born with talent like Mr. Roman, so I gave up, but I know how great you are, better than anyone else. Roman replied. You flatter me. The northeast area hasn't yet produced skilled rankers so far, but I think Roman Dmitri can aim for the top position. The atmosphere looked friendly. Viscount Conrad realized the chat had gone on longer than expected, so he shook off the curious looks and kept talking. It was then that Roman spoke. I have one personal question for you. Viscount Conrad thought. Controlling the flow of conversation, he is pretty smart for someone of a common origin, and then he replied. Please feel free to speak your mind. With a fake smile. I heard that the Dmitri farmers had their lands taken away by Viscount Conrad without a notice. Could you tell me why? There is still a contract period left, and without a sudden notice, you drove away the farmers, making them suffer. At that moment, the Viscount's face went stiff. He didn't want to answer it, so he decided to pass the question on in a gentle manner. Actually, there was a plan to use the surrounding area at a higher price. That is all. Let's skip this meaningless. Is that all? His words were cut off. Viscount Conrad, who was trying to change the subject, couldn't hide his displeasure. Mr. Roman, we are having a party for you, so why do you keep talking about sensitive topics? Then shifting his gaze, he said, This a party that's meant to congratulate your return. Why have you chosen to make me look bad in front of all these people? He turned around and said, Now that I've been treated in this manner, I can no longer put on a smile at this party. I will take my leave now. And with everyone's attention on him, he stepped back, making his way through the crowd. It was then. Viscount Conrad. You have not answered me yet. If you end the conversation like this and leave the party, then I will accept your attitude as hostility towards Dmitri. Stand in front of me again and explain what happened that day. It was no mistake. It was intentional. The celebration, which had been joyful until a split second before, was now as chilly as ice water being dumped on it. Hey there, thanks for joining us today. If you had enjoyed watching our content, don't forget to show some love by hitting that like button and subscribing to our channel. It would really mean a lot to us. We have a lot of amazing content that we would love to share with you. So make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on your notifications to never miss out on another one of our videos.